You know what I kind of miss talking about? I kind of miss talking about the times where Spider-Man just went off and showed villains just what the fuck he was actually made of. Times where he just cut loose all of his strength and he beat villains to a bloody pulp. But the only reason I never really cover that as much as I want to is because it doesn't really happen all that much. And it's really mostly due to the fact that if Spider-Man were to raise his strength just a teensy little bit to fight off a villain, he could literally kill them in seconds. That is kind of why it's so impactful when Spider-Man stops holding back, is because when he actually stops, he literally eviscerates like anybody that comes into his path. 10 times out of 10 when I read moments like this stuff, it literally has my jaw dropping because it's just astounding that the level of power Spider-Man actually carries. If Spider-Man really wanted to, he could literally be an Avengers level threat. And to name a few examples of why, I'm just gonna say a couple like these. That one time he literally ripped off a villain's face just because he was angry. Or that one time he literally eviscerated the Rhino for kidnapping his daughter. Then there was also that one time where Wolverine tried flirting with MJ and getting with her, and then Peter found out and promptly threw Wolverine outside of the Avengers Tower. Yeah, that'll do it. These are just a couple small examples of Spider-Man just getting angry and going off on other people, but one story that I really wanted to talk about today that I think you'll like is a story where Spider-Man just goes absolutely berserk. So go pop some popcorn, or dump some G Fuel in some water, or go spend $3 on a Prime bottle and come back and enjoy the video. In the beginning of the story, Peter Parker is basically going through it. He's having constant nightmares of being unable to save the ones he loves, and he's overwhelmed with the grief of so many who have already died before. He's basically been having the same horrible dream every night. This leads Peter to be constantly tired, and currently, he doesn't know the direction in which his life is going anymore. Nothing else makes sense anymore except being Spider-Man, which is now his only escape. And during this time in the story, it seems that Peter has continued to use the black suit for a while now. He's not talking with Aunt May, he's quit school, and is basically torn between choosing Mary Jane or Black Cat. Filled with so much stress, he looks to burn off some of the steam, so he dons the black suit and goes out swinging during the night. So as Spidey swings around, he eventually finds a robber trying to attack an old lady. So Spider-Man leaps to attack the robber, but he's much more vicious than usual. The robber in this moment is completely terrified and thinks that Spider-Man is going to kill him. But instead, Spider-Man just knocks out the robber and helps the old lady with her things before swinging back to his place. Later in the night, Peter once again has a horrible nightmare. Only this time he wakes up so suddenly that he hits Mary Jane. After hitting Mary Jane, the two talk about Peter and how he's been acting lately. Mary Jane thinks that the black suit is changing Peter for the worse, even getting freaked out that the suit is alive. However, Peter does not want to get rid of the black suit, so once again, Spider-Man goes out once more. But now when swinging, he starts to hear a strange voice in his head and doesn't know who it is. And while swinging, the suit stops shooting webs, nearly killing Peter, which really freaks him out. But he can't think too much about that right now because soon after this, he ends up fighting Hobgoblin. And Spider-Man, coupled together with the black suit, he is so strong that he's able to beat up Hobgoblin and even almost kills him because he's just so tired of him. Going so far as to unmask Hobgoblin to find that it's Roderick Kingsley under the mask, and he's only ever been a villain to claim power for himself. To which Peter begins to lay blow after blow on the Hobgoblin, telling him that he'll never have true power because Spider-Man is power. After that fight is over, Peter goes to visit Reed Richards and the other members of the Fantastic Four to run scans on the suit. So during some of Reed's scans, he finds out that the suit is an alien life form and it's alive, and it wants to take over Peter and his body. But Peter doesn't believe Reed because so far the symbiote has done nothing but help him, thinking to himself that Reed only wants the symbiote for himself. So Peter swings off, where Peter later goes to visit Aunt May because he doesn't know who else to turn to anymore for help. Only while they're having tea and figuring out what to do, they are attacked by Hobgoblin. Peter, more furious than ever that the Hobgoblin would try to hurt Aunt May, doesn't pull his punches anymore on the Hobgoblin, hitting Hobgoblin with a flurry of fists, totally unaware that Aunt May is still trapped in the house as it goes up in flames. Once Peter notices, he tries to run towards the house to save Aunt May, but the symbiote doesn't let him because the fire could kill it, leading Aunt May to die. And with so much rage bellowing in Peter, the symbiote directs it towards the Hobgoblin, webbing up the Hobgoblin in a type of cocoon. Peter would then stand over the Hobgoblin, looking more like a monster than ever. As he places his hands over the Hobgoblin's Spider-Man's head, squishing it like a watermelon, brutally murdering him. Soon after this, word spreads through New York and reaches Kingpin that Spider-Man has killed someone, and he is very interested in the why that happened. Kingpin then tasks hired killers to go after Spider-Man and take him down. J. Jonah Jameson, on the other hand, is furious that Spider-Man has become a murderer, and he wants to publicly shame him. In the meantime, Peter is now fully consumed by the black suit, as he now talks to the suit and is trying to decide if he's guilty for the murder of Hobgoblin or not. However, while walking through New York, he sees a newspaper from the Daily Bugle calling Spider-Man a murderer, which sets Peter off. Soon after that, Spider-Man crashes through a window in the Daily Bugle and breaks Jameson's hand, telling him that if he sees another article about Spider-Man being a murderer, he'll come back and break the other hand. And you can see now that the black suit is starting to make Peter look more like Venom than Spider-Man at this point. Later the same day, Mary Jane arrives to Peter's apartment to check on him, only to find Peter strung up in the air by the symbiote. Peter soon wakes up to Mary Jane and tries to comfort her by saying that this is all normal. He's just made a lot of changes in the last few days. And one of those changes is deciding who gets to live and who gets to die, because he has the power to do so, as he swings out of his apartment. Sometime later, Spider-Man is attacked by both Shocker and Scorpion, but they stand literally no match against Spider-Man as he drowns the Scorpion with the symbiote, and slowly walks over to the Shocker to kill him brutally as well, in front of civilians. Later, Kingpin is at home reading in peace, until Spider-Man shows up to talk with Kingpin, throwing the dead bodies of both Scorpion and Shocker in front of him, after which the Kingpin reveals that he managed to find out that Spider-Man is really Peter Parker through some simple deduction. In that moment, Spider-Man thrusts his fist right through Kingpin's head. Soon many other villains die in Spider-Man's wake, and it's obvious that Peter is just taking down everyone who stands in his way. Meanwhile, Reed is doing some research on a symbiote, and he is certain that very soon the alien will take over Peter completely. Due to Spider-Man killing so many villains in the last few days, Doc Ock also forms a team to kill Spider-Man. Jameson has organized this and now thinks that Spider-Man is way too dangerous to be left free. So after forming a plan to kill Spider-Man, Eddie Brock in disguise kills Doc Ock as he wants to personally get revenge on Spider-Man. Days go by and the few remaining villains left alive enact their plan to finally put an end to Spider-Man's terror. So while JJ is out guarding the perimeter, he finds the Beetle bloodied and webbed to strike fear into the villains. The villains try to shake off the fear and enact the first step of their plan by using Mysterio's tech to throw Spider-Man off of his game. But this doesn't do much as Spider-Man uses his tentacles to strike from below Mysterio, stabbing him numerous times. With the Master of Illusions dead, it leaves just Eddie, Kraven, Electro, and Rhino left to stop Spider-Man. Rhino sprints towards Spider-Man to tackle him, but Spider-Man easily shreds his face in two. Eddie tries taking his revenge, but Spider-Man takes him down within a second and embarrasses the guy by saying he doesn't even know who he is. Spider-Man then drowns Electro with the symbiote, leaving just Kraven and JJ left standing. The fight is brutal, yet they do manage to trap Spider-Man into a barn, setting it ablaze. Upon the fire separating the symbiote from Peter briefly, JJ sees that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So Jameson, using his giant robots, manages to create an electric explosion that separates Peter from the symbiote. Peter is now free and Jameson saves him. At this point, JJ really wants to help Peter get back on his feet, and he understands that he was taken advantage by the symbiote. So Peter is brought back to his apartment by JJ, where he reunites with MJ and Black Cat, but the moment is gone as fast as it came, because in Kingpin's final act before dying, he exposed Spider-Man's identity. In the meantime, the alien symbiote finds its way into the Baxter building, and it's there where it takes control of the thing, and it actually bonds with Reed Richards. And because the symbiote wants to be just like Peter and make the world a better place, it forms a plan to rule the world and change everybody into symbiote creatures. Left with no other options, Peter, in the middle of recovering, puts on the original suit and chooses to run so he can stop the symbiote, choosing to save his friends and make things right, because he has to make right on all the harm he's caused as that monster and all the villains he murdered like an animal. Upon swinging around the city to find the symbiote, he finds the Baxter building shrouded by the symbiote. Landing near the Baxter building, the Avengers are there, and they are planning on how to get rid of the alien attackers. Peter convinces the Avengers that the monster he was killing all those villains was the symbiote controlling him, and that it's taken over the building because of him. Johnny Storm blames Peter for everything, but Peter promises to make things right. So Peter enters the building, but is followed by Mary Jane and Johnny Storm. Now they have to find a way to stop the symbiote before it can finish its plan. Peter thinks that he can talk with the symbiote and stop it, so he goes off to stop it on his own, leaving MJ with Johnny. Peter, on his way to stop the symbiote, runs into a venomized thing that gives him a ton of trouble. At first he holds back because the thing is his friend, but Peter realizes that if he continues to hold back, the rest of the world, including MJ, will die. So he speed blitzes the thing and hurtles him out of the building for the Avengers to handle. Meanwhile, the symbiote is now fully powered, and with Reed's powers, it makes him entirely too strong for just Peter to handle alone. The symbiote enacts its plan and disperses dozens of newborn symbiotes onto the people below, which end up infecting the Avengers. And in a moment of weakness, Peter is afraid that MJ will die in this horrifying battle. But Peter still gets up to fight like he always does because he's Spider-Man. Peter uses the tech inside the Baxter building to develop a weapon that can destroy the symbiotes. Meanwhile, Sue, Johnny, and MJ are all trying their best to fight off the infected superheroes and stay alive. Peter at this point is so tired and he can barely stand up on his own anymore, let alone fight. But even so, he still has to stop the symbiotes. Peter finally faces the symbiote down and promises to give himself over to the symbiote. At that point, the symbiote decides to leave Reed, but it at first kills him because it can't have someone as smart as he is alive to pose a threat. Peter then screams after losing another loved one, and soon after this, Reed falls from the top of the building dead on the ground. Sue rushes over heartbroken that her husband is now dead, but she still has to fight. While this is all happening, Peter runs from the symbiotes until they eventually catch him and begin to take him over once again. And while the symbiote is consuming Peter, it realizes that something is very wrong. In that moment, it's revealed that Peter and Johnny switch places and use the device to mask their appearance. And in that moment, Johnny flames on and torches all of the symbiotes. Soon after the fight had ended, Peter surrendered himself and answered for his crimes. In court, the Avengers would arrive and explain to everyone that the symbiotes took over their bodies and they couldn't control themselves while killing. Matt Murdock is also there to defend Peter Parker and helps clear Peter's name, allowing him to be a free man once again, allowing Peter to return to his duty as Spider-Man. Soon after mourning the loss of Aunt May and Reed Richards, Sue Storm arrives and she asks Peter to join the Fantastic Four as their core member, and Peter happily accepts. In the end, it's also revealed that Kingpin is alive, yet hanging by a thread, and he also has a certain red symbiote that he plans to use to kill Peter Parker. To which Wesley says to Kingpin that he may not have to choose between killing Peter Parker and recovering, because with the symbiote, he can do both, ending the story on a massive cliffhanger. I hope you guys like this story, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and as always, I'll catch y'all on the flip side.